What's up, YouTube? In the background, you can see me using my favorite belt, Headhunter, and in this video, we're gonna go over why is the price of Headhunter so high. Now, while I was making my previous videos for 5-weight carries, I actually found a crazy fact. Headhunter has never been higher in PoE's history than what it is right now. It is approaching absurd levels, and we're gonna see why exactly that's the case. And as you can see, the price has just gone up and up and up. I have no idea why it's so expensive, but I was able to find out through some analysis. Now, Headhunter started off the league pretty cheap. It was actually one of my second big buys I did. So every single league, I try to buy a Mage Blood and Headhunter right away because those are the items that always go up in price a lot. So Headhunter was relatively cheap. It was 5 to 6 divines for a Doctor card, and you buy 8 of them, you turn it in. So it was roughly around 40 to 50 divines. Now, we did not really know the full scope of what the game actually was at that point. I think most people didn't really know how bad Beyond was. Most people did not really know how bad the rare nerf was and how few rare monsters there were going to be in the maps outside of Legion. But after a while, people started figuring it out, and Headhunter has gone on a steady rise. Now, the price currently hovers around 170 to 180 divines for one that's not corrupted. And the stock is around 52. Now, the stock of Headhunter is kind of similar to the stock of, let's go see, of Mage Bloods. So right here, you can see Headhunter is around 43 right now. And so since I started, they actually lost 10 of the Headhunters somehow. And Mage Blood's at 54. So you can see here that Mage Blood is actually somehow more popular than Headhunter. So that's probably something to do with why the price is so incredibly high. So let's go see who actually uses the spell and where you actually get Headhunter from. So in order to understand the price of something, we always have to look at supply and demands. And we're going to do this the same way as an economist would, which is where do you actually get a Headhunter from? And who actually uses the Headhunter? So Headhunter actually comes from 2 different sources, mostly divination cards and dropping from the ground. Now, divination cards include Doctor, Patient, Fiend, Nurse, and Demon. And Doctor is usually farmed in Spider Forest or Burial Chambers. Now, Burial Chambers is actually not on the Atlas this time around. So I think a lot of people would have farmed Burial Chambers if it existed because it's a pretty good map for Legion. But it's just not on the map device. And Spider Forest is not really that great. People don't really enjoy doing that map. There's too many pillars in the middle that blocks Legion, so not very good. Now, Patient is the other card that could be farmed a lot, but I do think one of the main reasons why people don't really farm the cards as much is because Apothecary exists in Mage Blood, and currently Apothecary is just a lot more expensive. However, I do have a Patient farming video coming up where I averaged around 3 Patients a map, and it was actually pretty good in helping me get a lot of cards. So if I wanted to farm a Headhunter that way, you could definitely farm it with some Strongbox technique and Colonnade. Now, there are 2 main maps that are really good for patient farming, which include Colonnade and Promenade. Promenade is better for Delimere. Colonnade is better for Deli Orbs. And there's also Armory if you're really into that. Now, Fiend, Nurse, and Demon are not that common at all. I think Fiend and Demon are from like Shrine map or something like that. And the Nurse card is mainly from Tower. And I'm not really sure. I don't think Tower is actually in the rotation this time around. And if it is, people don't really farm it anymore. So as you can see, most of the cards aren't really that farmed because people are focusing on Apothecary cards. There's a reason why everyone is in Crimson Temple and Defiled Cathedral. So no one's really farming the div cards. There are some people who do promenades. But the problem with the div card farming right now is people aren't really going to invest in ambush strongboxes because it costs a lot of money. So if you do it on Colonnade or Promenade, then it's like, what's the point when you could have just done it on Crimson Temple or Defiled Cathedral and got cards that are worth a lot more? Now, Headhunter also is able to be dropped from the ground as a T0 unique drop rate. And when I say this actually makes me laugh incredibly hard because who has actually found a Headhunter on the ground? Let me know down in the comments below if you have found a Headhunter in this league on the ground. Now, the main reason I say this is because group play actually generated a lot of the T0 uniques. I know in the past that people in groups were actually finding 2 Headhunters in one map. However, now there has been some study done where a group play has done 400 Giga Juice maps. And when I mean Giga Juice, you mean 6-man party quad full winged scarabs, as many mobs on the map as possible, and they actually found 0 T0 uniques. 0. So that is how bad the drop rate has actually been nerfed. And the drop rate is not completely nerfed in that sense. It could have been just the removal of the legacy quant and rarity from past league mechanics. If anyone has ever done group play in the past, or if you've done any sort of juice mapping, you would know that a lot of the items actually come from Alva Temple, and it comes from Abyss and stuff like that, and Beyond monsters. So it's probably partly to do with the removal of the quant and rarity from past league mechanics. Now, as I said earlier, patient farming could be a thing if Headhunter prices keep going up. Because let's go see right here. The patient card, I think at the start of the league was only 25 chaos. And right now it is already at... it's actually gone up quite a bit. So why is it all in Exalted Orbs? So 3.4 Exalted Orbs. I don't really know how much that is in chaos. Why is everything in Exalted Orbs? Oh my goodness. Trade system. Oh, so it's like 73 chaos roughly. So it's gone up a significant amount. So maybe that method could be potentially good. Now, next up, we have to see demand. Who's actually using the Headhunter? And are there more people willing to use the Headhunter now than before? So Headhunter is mainly used by Fizz-based builds. So you have Tornado Shot Fizz-based. You have Kinetic Blast, which is probably going to be a 5-way carry build. You have Blade Vortex, which greatly benefits from Fizz conversion, and Fizz is extra. You have Lightning Strike, which is another good build. So it's mainly Fizz-based builds that benefit from Headhunter buff scaling. And the funny thing is that Headhunter has a higher demand now than before because people are playing Magic Find more than ever. As you can see here, 36% of people using Headhunter are actually using Ventor's Gamble, and 27% are actually using Goldworm. So every single one of these players who are using Headhunter and using Goldworm, they're pretty much dedicated Magic Finders. Now, a large portion of the players are also using Kinetic Blast to do 5-way builds. And we can see this because if we go to Headhunter and then we click on Kinetic Blast, we can actually see that they are using Replica Voidwalker, which is pretty much a pair of boots you would only use for, 5-way carry. So Kinetic Blast, you can see right here, 69% of people using Kinetic Blast are using it for 5-way carries, and I think the other percent is going to be Goldworm at 22%. So pretty much everyone who's playing Kinetic Blast Headhunter are all using it for 5-ways or to try to Magic Find. Most bow people are also Magic Finding. 61% are using Ventor's Gamble. And then 34% are actually using the Aesthetic, which is pretty much a dedicated Magic Find item. So it seems like the rise of Magic Find and people finding out how they can manipulate their maps to get as many God Touch as possible and get as profitable as a God Touch as possible has greatly increased the demand for Headhunters. And then you have Blade Vortex. I'm pretty sure Blade Vortex is probably another build that greatly benefits from Headhunter and also Magic Find. So right here, Vol Blade Vortex, 31% has Ventor. So not as many as the bow build, but still a decent chunk. Now, if you want to compare Headhunter's popularity compared to Mageblood, it's actually relatively close. It's at 14% and 9%. And if we look last league, Mageblood was at 47%. Wow, a lot more people had Mageblood last league. And Headhunter was at 12%. So relatively to Mageblood, Headhunter is a lot more popular now. It seems like a lot more people are actually choosing Headhunter instead of Mageblood when they're given an option, given how close in price they actually are. And the main reason behind this, and I do think the main increase in price over the past week or so, is definitely the fact that there is been a huge rise in people realizing loot goblins are pretty good. So you can see here, this belt has pretty much been increasing in price, and it's kind of plateaued a little bit. It's gone up so much in the past. So basically, a lot more players have realized that they're prioritizing quant and rarity on their gear. And when you actually prioritize quant and rarity on your gear, your player power is severely gimped. And that's a topic for another video on what I think about what Magic Find actually does to build diversity or just itemization diversity. Now, Inspire Learning is a lot worse than before because of how few rare monsters are on the map. In the past, you could use Inspire Learning and you can have Beyond on the map, and it's pretty much identical feeling to a Headhunter. However, nowadays, since Headhunter is buffed to 60-second duration and how few rare monsters are on the map, even when you roll Beyond, it means that Headhunter and Inspire Learning feels completely different. Inspire Learning with Mage Blood, which was one of the best options in the past, now feels nothing like Headhunter. And if you clear a map between Headhunter and Mage Blood, and I have tried this out even on my Corrupting Fever build, which doesn't even benefit that much from Headhunter, it is astronomical the difference when you wear Magic Find gear and how long it takes to clear a map with Headhunter and Mage Blood. So that's why I do think that people have started to realize that Headhunter is actually a better belt than Mage Blood outside of bossing, and it's also unlocked some of the best farms in the game, which is 5-way carry builds, and also Magic Finding really juiced maps. Now, overall, so what's the conclusion? Why is Headhunter the highest price it's ever been, and how much higher will it go? I think it'll probably level out somewhere around 180, 150 divides. I don't think it'll go up forever. I think Mage Blood will still be more expensive. I do think that the price has really gone up because there's been a huge reduced supply for drops and cards. I don't think anyone is really farming doctor cards or patient cards or nurse cards as much as people are farming apothecaries. So naturally, there's going to be more supply from the cards. And also in terms of drops, both Mage Blood and Headhunter doesn't drop. So it's kind of not really a comparison for that. Now, the increased demand for Magic Find, I think, has skyrocketed the price of Headhunter to untested levels. If you want to see what this is like, you can go see what has happened to some of the Scarab prices for Winged Scarabs. Like, look at Winged Abyss Scarab. People have realized it's really good. It's shot up in the past day. Winged Reliquary is another one. Magic Finding, 20 Chaos to 45 Chaos. So a lot of these things have happened. People have realized Magic Find is better. People are trying it out. People are actually having fun with Magic Find, and a lot of people playing the league are probably playing Magic Find at this point. Now, ironically, Headhunter is weaker than ever before compared to last league. However, it's stronger than ever before when compared to its peers of Mage Blood and Inspire Learning. That's pretty much because of the scarcity of rare monsters. Because there's so few rare monsters on the map, even when you put Legion and Abyss on the map, it means that the buff duration of 60 seconds is now more important than ever. But the one bad part about Headhunter now is definitely the fact that you lose so much defensive bonuses that you had before. No longer can you rely on Headhunter to pretty much carry all of your defenses once you have like 20 buffs. You no longer have plus 10 max fire res, plus 10 max cold res, plus 10 max lightning res. You no longer have chaos resistance against damage over time at 40%. You don't have a lot of 10% chance to max block attack and block spell damage. You don't have frenzy power endurance charges. You lose out a lot on resist. And it's just a really, really bad feeling because you miss out on so many different things now. But in the end, there's no comparison, and Headhunter is definitely in a class above every other belt in the game if you're still mapping. And I do think that most of the people playing the game are doing some sort of Magic Finding at this point. But thanks for watching, everyone. I hope you find more Mirrors, Exalted Orbs, Mage Bloods, and Divines than me, and maybe even Headhunters. And see you next time. Bye!